If we really want to fix the leadership problem we have and have better bosses, then we need to know what the problem is. What is the cause? But really the first question is, how do we know we have a leadership problem? Well, you can look at your experience and the bad bosses and leaders you have faced in your life, and you may know that we have a leadership problem. But more than that, we can look at the statistics from Gallup and others that show that so many people are disengaged in their jobs, and that many people leave their jobs because of their manager or because of their boss. We have a leadership problem. But again, to fix it, we need to know why we have that problem. Well, let's look at 7 reasons why. First, conventional wisdom is often wrong. In the past, conventional wisdom may have included that the earth was flat, that the sun revolved around the earth, and so on. Today, there's of course a big mix of things, such as if you eat a watermelon seed, you grow a watermelon in your belly, that you have to wait 30 minutes after you eat to swim. Or really a bigger thing is that students learn better when they're taught in their learning style, which if you look at the studies, really isn't true. Similarly, there's a lot of conventional wisdom about leadership, the things that are put out there on blogs and articles and especially on social media, that's just not true. And if you or someone else follows that conventional wisdom, then you're not going to do well as a leader, because again, it's not true. But it's what's out there, what's often promoted, and unfortunately often followed. Second is the Dunning-Kruger effect, or you may have heard it called the armchair quarterback, or the danger of a little knowledge. You see, the Dunning-Kruger effect says that the less you know about something, the more confident you are about what you think you know. So for example, somebody learns a little information about leadership or whatever it may be, they suddenly think they know a lot about it or an expert about it, when they really aren't. You can think about some of those football fans who sit on their chairs and they're yelling at the coaches, telling them what they should have done and do this, when really they don't know, but they think they do. You can also think of it as if I was trying to learn guitar. I pick it up, I start playing a few chords, I can strum, I can sing along to some songs. But the question is, do I really know how to play guitar? Yes, I can play a little bit, but I really don't know how to play. It's not bad that I can't really play yet. It's a process, it's learning, but it's important that I recognize that. It's the same with leadership. Sometimes people learn just a little bit of information, they read a book, or they read all this conventional wisdom, and they think they know leadership, but they really don't. They don't realize there's so much more to learn and so much more to go to be a great leader. Another aspect of that is that we as humans want to think well of ourselves. If you ask a room who's an above average driver, most people will say they're above average. Have you noticed that no one thinks they're a bad leader? Think of the worst boss or leader you've ever had. Did they ever say to you, "Oh, yep, I'm just a bad boss"? No, of course not. They probably thought they were amazing. Third, many people have just never seen what great leadership is. I want you to picture a cow pasture, a field, and I want you to imagine that you've lived there your whole life. That's where you've lived, that's where you've grown up, and all you've had to eat is grass. You have found that the short, skinny grass is really stringy and kind of hard to chew, that the thicker grass is nice and juicy and tasty, but oh, that grass with the yellow flowers with that sweet aroma, those are the best that you can eat. Now, let's just say one day I'm in the field and I see you and I walk up to you and I ask you what, of course, is a normal question in the conversation that you probably see all the time. I ask you, "Hey, do you know what good food tastes like?" Again, a normal question you always ask. What would you say? You would say yes. Why would you say yes? Because that's all you've ever known. Yes, there's lots of better food out there. You really don't know what great food tastes like, but you think you do because all you've ever eaten is grass. That's all you've known, so that's what you think is great. It's the same with leadership. Many people have lived their lives in mediocre and bad leadership, so when they think of great leadership, they think of the yellow flower. They think of mediocre leadership. They don't know better because they've never seen better. Number 4, they don't understand the importance of leadership. You see, leadership is vitally important. The success or failure of an organization depends on the leadership. If people realized that and really understood that, they would train better and emphasize better and make sure they learn. But often people don't realize that, and part of that is because of the conventional wisdom and just a lack of understanding of what leadership is. And that also leads to number 5, people aren't trained well in leadership. If you were hiring a graphic designer or an engineer, you would make sure they had the learning and training to be a good engineer, or to be a good graphic designer, or whatever it may be. You may even provide extra training to make sure they are good, and continuous training to train them in how to be a great engineer or a graphic designer, or whatever it may be. But when it comes to leadership, the most important thing in an organization, often there's no training at all, or it's conventional wisdom or something that's very light. People are hired or promoted from whatever position they were in, put in a management position over people, and they're not even taught how to lead. And if there is training, often they're taught on the duties they're supposed to do and not how to actually lead people. 6, related to that, often people are hired or promoted to the boss or management positions for the wrong reasons. There's a difference between individual performer and the manager. As an individual performer, it's your job to produce. If you're a graphic designer, your job is to produce graphics, to make things, to design things, or whatever it may be. As a manager, that's not your job anymore. Your job is to lead people, to guide people, and to get results through people, not yourself. But often people are promoted because they were good at being a graphic designer, so they assume, they're good at graphic design. Let's make them a manager over people who do graphic design. And that's a fallacy, because those are two separate sets of skills. Designing graphics, engineering, whatever it may be, versus management are different skills that you have to do. You take someone who's good at one thing and reward them by putting them in a position that they're not good at. It's not that they can't learn, but we need to realize it's different. And you don't promote people just because they're good at this, because it has nothing to do with leading and managing people. And what makes it worse is often in many companies, the only way up is management. So if you want to move your career, you can't just continue to be a better and better graphic designer. You have to move into management. And that's unfortunate. And number 7, the reason we often have bad bosses and bad managers and bad leaders is because they have the wrong motive. And part of this is because of the conventional wisdom and how leadership is seen today. So what do I mean by the wrong motive? Well, Patrick Lencioni talks about this in his book, The Motive. And really there's 2 motives you can have, the selfish and the service. You see, often leadership is seen as a position, and it's seen as a reward or moving up in your career or whatever it may be. And so they see it as something that's for you. Well, now I'm a manager and I get my special parking spot and I get my special meeting area. I get all of this because I'm the leader. It's about them and the rewards and the perks and the respect and the money. But the thing, that's not what leadership is about. And if you have that mentality, you're not going to do well as a leader, because you don't understand leadership, and you're not going to do the hard work that's required of leadership because you have the wrong mentality. You see, great leaders have a service mentality. They're about serving their team. Their focus is the mission and helping their team be their best to accomplish the mission. It's not about them. It's about doing the hard work of leadership to accomplish the mission through their team. You see the difference? Often in our society, in our world, the idea of leadership is completely backwards. And that's a major cause of failed leadership. You see, to fix the leadership problem we have, we need to understand what leadership really is. We need to train leadership well, understand its importance, and make sure we promote for the right reasons. If we want to change this, to have great leadership in our world, then we need to first understand really what leadership is, to have the right motive, to hire for the right reasons. If we start doing that, then we can start seeing the change we want in our bosses and leaders around the world. And if you want to start taking that step forward, learn what the real definition of leadership is right here.